Welcome to Finding Sacred Spaces. We are on a pilgrimage to discover and share Catholic waypoints in America. Hello, I'm George.
And I'm Sue, and in this video we'll share the ins and outs of the building of our St. Joseph Building Project Challenge.
So, a few of the considerations was, one, that it had to be towed by the current vehicle that we had, which is a 2010 Mazda 5, but it had to be at or below the towing capacity. And the other consideration for the camper itself was, it had to have a queen-size bed, and it had to be at least 6.5 feet tall.
It's kind of a glorified tent. That's what was our intent. No pun. Or no.
Good one.
Yeah. So that was our intention, was to just have something that we could travel around Alaska that was dry, warm, and you could stand up in and make meals in. So George created the plan. He's kind of the mastermind of this whole project. And
you got to have someone to blame when things go wrong. I mean,
we thought that, what are we going to do? We're on a pilgrimage. Our trailer we keep down in the lower 48, as well as our camper and truck. And we just fly back up here because it's cheaper and it does not take as long actually to fly as to drive. So we decided to do that, and we've been doing that. But then that leaves us with nothing to travel around Alaska if we want to stay overnight. So we came up with the idea that, well, maybe we could sleep in the Mazda, in the back of our Mazda 5. And at 63 years old, that didn't sound too inviting.
Yeah, I think we looked at a couple of YouTubes of people doing that, and they go, that became a hard no.
Uh-huh. That's your foam, huh? Nice. Okay, I'll meet you at the front. Okay.
So I drew up the plans for this camper. That allowed me to figure out how much material and what kind of material that we needed. So off we went.
Yeah, and I think after that we learned about this St. Joseph Building Project that Father Mark Goring spoke about. This would be a good opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. We subscribed to Father Mark Goring's YouTube channel, and he came up with a challenge, and we accepted.
Yes. Okay, is that it?
That's it.
All right.
So this part of the project was kind of a mini project all by itself, because we were looking for a trailer to put the camper on, and we remembered that we had purchased this trailer back in 1994-95 from Costco actually, and had used it on a cross-country trip from Alaska to the East Coast and back.
Yeah, we used it because that's what we had. We were trying to keep our costs down, and we didn't want to have to buy a new trailer to haul the camper on. So we needed to revitalize this and give it a new life and new purpose.
Okay. Hang on.
Okay, so here we're flipping the trailer. After assessing what we needed to do to it, we discovered that probably replacing the axle, hubs, wheels, and tires would be a good thing. And so we had to turn it up on its back to access all that, to easily access it and get those replaced.
Okay, go for it.
What?
Yep, go ahead. The trailer was pretty rusty, but nothing more than surface rust, which is pretty remarkable because it was over 20 years old and had seen a lot of weather.
so good. Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, grinders. Gotta have one.
So we ended up having to scrape off the major rust, which was just that stuff that's going to flake off anyway. And then we painted a thin layer of the core seal. Okay, we're just showing pictures of how the trailer looks now that we put core seal on it, which is a rust inhibitor, or it stops the rust. It makes it inert and stops the oxidation process, so then you can paint it and you have almost a brand new trailer. But it's pretty cool. It turns the rust black, and once we put the Rust-Oleum on it, it should be pretty good. Okay, so it's ready for painting. Ta-da!
And here we see the finished product. You can see the frame. We already put the stabilizing legs on there.
We put a new platform of plywood on it, and we just used some spray paint that we already had on hand because it wasn't going to be seen by anyone anyway.
Now, it's okay to kind of move it a little bit. Let's try to get it kind of. So once the trailer was done, we are ready to start building the box, the camper portion. And every good box starts with a good basic floor.
We used adhesive sealant 5200, which is a marine caulk, and it seals for water egress. We wanted to make this watertight. No leakage, please.
The outside frame is 2x4s. Floor joists are 2x2s, 12 inches on center. We were only using 3/8 inch subfloor, so I wanted to make sure that the floor was sturdy enough not to be sagging when we walked all over it.
Right, and again, we were trying to use materials that was going to make it as light as possible, but be able to be strong and sturdy.
This part is putting insulation in. We used 1.5 inch pink foam board as insulation. Here I'm just putting them in between the floor joists.
And then on the underside, we used sheet metal that one of our sons, who's a roofer, donated to us. And we also, again, used the adhesive sealant 5200 to seal that underside that would be getting all the rain or wetness from the road.
So after we skinned it, we put 3 2x6 treated wood skids on the bottom. And when you flip it up, that'll help to raise it above the trailer just a little bit so I can run electrical wires and plumbing or anything that I need to run under the trailer and off the side so we're not drilling holes in the side of the trailer.
Okay, so George is getting the router prepped. George is getting the router prepped, and we're going to router some of the edges that are hanging over. And I have my dust mitigation tool, or my sawdust mitigation tool. We'll see how it works.
Okay, next we started building the walls, which were in general 2 feet on center, built just like you would if you were building a house. And the skin was a Revolution ply from Lowe's. It's a 5mm real thin plywood, which turned out to be really great for the application here. We actually use this on the outside and the inside. All the seams from the walls to the floor and from the walls to wall were sealed with that 3M 5200 marine sealant.
Right, and again, weight was the issue. We were trying to keep it as light as possible. And when we go ahead and put the insulation in those walls, it's going to add extra strength and rigidity to it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think weight-wise, you can actually see how easily we just lift them up and put them up there. And then we screwed all the walls together. No nails. We used exterior screws wherever possible.
Have you been sent to your corner?
I have been sent to my gun. And now we're doing the roof panel. And again, this is 2 foot on center with the exact same revolution ply that we used on the walls. Essentially, it's the exact same construction techniques we used on the walls. This is a little bit different in that the outside is just like the floor. So the outside framing is 2x4s. Here I'm going to do something a little bit different with the roof spars, if you will, on the roof panel. So what I'm doing here is I bought 1 inch by 1/8 inch by 4 foot aluminum bar and drilled a hole in the middle, drilled a hole in the ends, and then drilled a hole between the middle and the ends. Here I'm drilling the bar to the very top of the inside of the ceiling, and then I bend the end of it to create a little bit of compression and then screw it at the end. So I've always been fascinated by the arches of a bridge and how they stay up, and of course it's done by the compression of the arch. And here I'm trying to repeat that, and hopefully it'll keep that roof from sagging as much as it would without it.
Okay, so we had 12 kids, and they're all grown now, and it just enables us to have plenty of helpers now to help us out. So our son Stephen and his wife Maddie and our son Eric came to help us put this roof up, because that was something that we weren't sure how we were going to do just by ourselves.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, go ahead and drop it.
Ow!
You're supposed to.
What'd you do?
Dad said, okay, so we're gonna go ahead and drop it. And no 3, 2, 1, nothing.
I'll get these corners.
And so here you see us putting the roof on and then putting the, again, 5200, using the 5200 marine caulk. And the nice thing about this 5200 stuff is that it takes 24 hours to set and 7 days to cure. So you literally have all day to line up your joints and get it plumb and straight and all that stuff. So here you can see we have it setting down on one end, but blocked up on the other end, and we're just doing the finishing touches on the corners and then setting it down, then screw it in. You also notice there's what I now call the leverage clamp, and just made it out of scrap wood. I had a 2x2 that was twisting on us, and so I took that, and you'll see how we made that later on in the details at the end of the video. But for now, it was a real lifesaver in getting all the joints compressed properly and squeezed together properly so I could screw it down.
Doing it. Okay. Okay. That.
Okay, we're going to do the poor man's fiberglass, and we're going to tape and drape both sides first. And hopefully we'll check this camera and it'll keep going. But we're still going to use these, or do you want to use this?
Oh, yeah.
Because this might be easier.
Right. Hopefully it'll get you up there.
This is all bunched up, so I don't know where I'm at.
Top right here.
So we were looking for an economical way to make this camper dried in and weatherproofed, and decided that the poor man's fiberglass was probably our best option. So it started with using drop cloth canvases that we needed to steam first to get all the wrinkles out, and we taped it to the top, and we worked in sections. So we taped the drop cloth to the top, rolled it up, and then painted a section of the camper with the glue, and then dropped the cloth down, pressed it with our hands, and worked it to smooth it out. We found that using our hands was probably worked the best, as long as we didn't stretch the cloth as we were doing it. And then we followed that up with a warm iron. Now, if you're going to use an iron, don't intend to use it for ironing your good clothes. I was working on a bridal veil, and I had to make sure I did not use that iron because it gets a little bit gummed up with the glue, so don't use a good iron.
Beautiful. See how tight that fits.
Camera's running.
Okay.
Yeah. Looks very nice.
Okay, let's beautiful tape this baby and get her in. Ooh. Stick her in.
Double for it? How come?
It'll button up. And here we are finally putting in the Max Air fan in the roof. The roof is now securely on the box, and we're finished with the poor man's fiberglass, and we're installing the Max Air fan, which takes a standard 14 by 14 inch hole that we had built into the roof from the beginning. At this point, you can see the shininess of the paint job, and you should tell them about the paint job.
Yeah, we were really happy with it. I think it ended up being a 3-week process. I put on 2 coats of primer and then 4 coats of Pro Industrial paint. And between each of those coats, you have to sand the entire surface. It helps it to attach better and gives it a better seal. Yeah, basically 6 coats of paint later, that's the kind of finish that you get. For the most part, it was pretty darn smooth.
I don't know that we mentioned that we put a coat of glue on top of the canvas. So you put a glue underneath, put the canvas on, put another coat of glue. We just used 100%, didn't dilute it or anything. I know some people do dilute the wood glue, but just wanted to mention that we did put the outside coat of the glue on before we painted it. Did that go over the other side? Let me check. No, not quite.
It's supposed to go over those things? Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's not. Not yet. Okay, well, there. Yeah, maybe that's the best way to do it.
There we go.
There we go.
Beauty.
Okay.
Okay, here you can see we're about halfway through the inside. We've already done the ceiling. And the inside, we are using the Type Bond 3 wood glue.
Oh, wait, but you want
Actually, the same wood glue that we used on the Poor Man's Fiberglass. And so we had about a gallon left over that. And then there's a kind of a dark side and a light side to that plywood, and we use the light side on the inside. Here I'm using the frog tape or painter's tape to locate my studs so that I can know where to put the nails in. Here we begin.
Yeah, and I coated the walls with a water-based polyacrylic. We were contemplating using a light paint, but I think polyacrylic and the wood, it gives it an Alaska cabin feel. I used a foam brush with a nylon, like a knee-high nylon over it, and it kind of keeps the bubbles out, and it just does a really good job of coating it.
Here we're installing the windows, and this is pretty standard. These are regular RV windows. You put the trim piece on the inside, put the butyl tape on around the window, pretty much like we did the Max Air fan. And then you put the window on the outside, and then the trim piece has screw holes in it. The window piece has grooves that the screws go into, and you just screw all that together. These were a little tough to get in, but really nothing to it by the time it took.
Okay, we're putting the floor in on this. We'll see what kind of a picture we can get. Did you get in that one corner over there? See it a little bit?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
no, you're right.
Okay, so we had a couple criteria for the flooring. One was weight and the other was expense. So we just went to a local flooring outfit and looked at their remnant and found one that would fit and installed it. Didn't worry about the color too much. We thought it may have been a little bit dark, but with the light walls, it kind of added dimension to it and worked out well. Okay, there's the floor.
So here we're working on the lower front cabinet, which is essentially the kitchen. Here I decided to use the 3M double-sided foam tape. Actually worked really well. Just laid the countertop on the frame and then squeezed it together and screwed it from underneath the frame. Of course, the screws are just long enough to get into the meat of the countertop, and it worked really well.
We were looking at different options for the countertop, and we finally settled on the 3/4-inch pine hobby board, which in consideration of weight seemed to be our best option. So I just coated it with a water-based acrylic. I think I put probably 7 coats on that. It's not necessarily considered food safe, but we never prepared food directly on the countertop. We always use some sort of a light cutting board when we're preparing food. It's not going anywhere.
What?
I guess it'll give rigidity to the camper too.
That's the whole idea. This, actually, main purpose is not for you to have something to prep on. This gives rigidity to the front of the trailer.
Glad to know I'm at the second thought.
Well, you know.
Okay, that's good enough.
So this is the top cabinetry, and here I'm installing it just as you would your upper kitchen cabinets, through the back part of the cabinet into the stud for extra bracing, because it is a trailer and it's going to go down the road and be shaking quite a bit. I reinforced that with 4 L brackets in strategic locations there.
And you'll see we're framing up for a shelf on top, but there's a box down below that shelf. The box is holding the fuse box and the battery monitor and switches, and it, of course, holds the kitchen light, which is super handy to have right over the kitchen counter. And then the top is for the baskets for kitchen supplies. And we have been down the road with this camper, and they have not flipped out, so it was a good design.
Yeah, there's a little lip there, and it seems to hold them just fine.
Yeah.
Brace yourselves. Here we have one of 6 of the bed panels that will be used to create the bed. 2 of the panels will be permanently installed on the top of the bed frame, and then 4 of the panels will be movable to set out on the bed frame that stands out. These were 3/4-inch finished plywood on 2x2 framing, so it was nice and sturdy.
And of course, for our living room, bedroom of the camper, we have, again, more shelves on top that has lighting underneath and baskets on top for clothing and supplies.
shooting.
Okay, we're working on the door of the camper, and George is routering around it, and I believe my dust mitigation tool did not work very well for routering because I don't seem to be using it in this scenario.
One of the unique things about the door is the security hinges. The security hinge has a little knockout, as you can see on the left, and that fits into the hole on the right hand side. What happens is that little knockout fits right into that hole. Knockout on the left fits into the hole on the right when the door is closed, and if you pop the pins, it'll actually hang on that little knockout and prevent the door from being removed with the pins out.
Okay, so George just built, what do you call that?
Well, it's a leverage clamp.
A leverage clamp. Okay, so you are your own little clamp.
Yep. Okay, watch. See how the thing is bent out? Oop, oop, oop. See how it's bent out like there? Right there. It's
Yeah.
knocking.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. Did you think of that yourself?
I did.
Wow.
Another Lochner invention.
That's cool.
Okay, so the deal was a pipe clamp was going to cost like $150 with all the components. I would get 2 sets of half-inch pipe clamps plus, which was, $30 for both of them, and then another. It was 31. You'd have to get a 10-foot pole because they only have 10 foot, and then they have 5 foot. Well, this is 5.5 feet, so I'd need at least a 6-foot pipe. So you got to get 2 10-footers, which is another $60
For a one-time thing.
for just a one-time deal. So it's like $100, and then they sit on the shelf and collect dust again.
Yeah, but now you have to trust me to drill the screws in.
Oh, I trust you. I trust you implicitly. All right.
Okay, all right.
So what you're seeing here is the window radius jig that I made up. It's a 7-inch inside diameter box, and you use a 7-inch hole saw, but you simply put 2 2x4s underneath. Each 2x4, of course, is 3.5 inches. The radius is 3.5 inches. And after you drill through that 2x4, what you're left with on the outside is 4 perfect 3.5-inch radiuses. Now, I say 2x4 because I did that once, and that was all I could handle. I went to 1x4s, and we just glued the two together. You can see it in this picture here. And now we have just a quick overview of what the inside will look like. Be sure to join us in our part 2 of this video, and we'll take you on a complete tour of the inside and outside and all the modifications that we've made since we finished the camper.
So we took our maiden voyage up to one of my favorite places in Alaska, which is near us. It's just north of Anchorage, Hatcher's Pass at Fishhook Trailhead. Absolutely beautiful. So this was a real test for our Mazda. The actual trailer came in weighing 1,700 pounds. We were looking for hopefully 1,600, but it was a little bit over what we wanted. But the Mazda did great. It did great pulling up those mountain roads. And this was just a beautiful place to have our first camp out.
You're the star of the show. Yes, you are.
That may be. Holy mackerel. How you guys could do that quick?
Well, it's mostly him. Oh, you know what? I think we got that on camera. Us moving that.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's the camera?
Right there.
Oh, and it's running, huh?
At least there's a picture here.
Is that guy crazy or what?
Yep, we got it. We were crazy.